Do you know that you are not entirely human? Yes. There is proof that the blood flowing through your veins might contain genes from a different species. Of all the research trying to discover the true source of humanity, this is the wildest. Also, it seems the most concrete. Many years ago, a researcher discovered evidence of an ancient mother civilization, MU, and it looks like this is where we truly came from. What is this Mu civilization? What proof did historians find to brand it a mother civilization? Is it possible that we came from this extraterrestrial lineage? We will find out together in this new episode of Secret Origins. Welcome. In the 19th century, hot whispers about a strange idea began to make rounds. This idea challenged everything that historians believed about human civilization. Because this time, it was not about Atlantis or ancient Egypt, nor was it about Mesopotamia. It was about a continent that came before these civilizations, a lost world called Mu, and it all started with a man called Augustus Le Plongeon, a 19th century archaeologist who spent his career studying Mayan ruins. He was known for arguing about how the Yucatan civilization was older than Egypt, but no one expected this archaeologist to dig even deeper. Out of the blue, Le Plongeon claimed that a continent called Mu once existed, and ancient Egypt stemmed from it. He insisted that during his study of Mayan texts, the strange language spoke of a great civilization that preceded all known history. To make it worse, according to Le Plongeon, this great civilization was swallowed up by the sea. Le Plongeon believed that the Mayan civilization was not self-made, but rather descended from the refugees of Mu who fled after their homeland was swallowed up. However, his ideology was too radical to pursue. He could not say where this civilization once existed or what could have happened to them. And if they did exist, where was the proof of their existence? Because Le Plongeon lacked substantial proof of his belief, the whispers of Mu were soon swept under the carpet. This was until it intrigued one man, James Churchward. Suddenly, the rejected idea rose to the surface again. Why? Churchward didn't just think that Mu existed, he had proof. In 1926, a British writer published the Holy Grail of Ancient Civilizations. His name was James Churchward, and his three-part book series was titled The Lost Continent Mu, The Children of Mu, and The Sacred Symbols of Mu. In these books, Churchward told a tale that mesmerized all who heard it. With his testimony, the doubts that Mu existed were halted, page after page. According to Churchward, 50 years before he published his book, he was a soldier in India. During his service time, he befriended a high-ranking temple priest who showed him the unspeakable. That fateful day, Churchward said he was having a friendly chat with his priest friend when the conversation turned serious. The temple priest had something to show the officer, and it was unlike anything Churchward had ever seen. The priest brought out stone tablets that looked old. On these tablets, there were written messages in a language that was too complex for Churchward to decipher. According to Churchward, the tablets were sunburnt, and although they looked like stone on the outside, they were built with clay. The language in the tablets was called the Naga Maya language. This was a long-lost language understood by only 2 other people in India at the time. But Churchward was interested in interpreting the message on these tablets, so he made a deal with the priest. Teach me the dead language, and I will restore and store the tablets for you. At the time, James Churchward was also known for properly storing ancient artifacts. This seemed like a good bargain to his friend, the priest. And once this deal was settled, Churchward began a difficult journey to unravel what was written on the stone tablets. When he did understand them, he wrote in his book that the tablets originated from the place where man first appeared, Mu. But that was not all. the world was not ready for the detailed description that would emerge from Churchward's understanding of the Naga Maya language on the tablets. The story on the tablets kicks off with the creation of planet Earth Mu and the superior human civilization that lived within. The people of Mu were called the Nakal, and of course, Churchward had a vivid description of their existence. According to the writer, Mu was a continent that flourished between 50,000 and 12,000 years ago as a real world. In his words, Mu was dominated by a black race and was superior in many respects to our own. As if to further shock his audience, Churchward noted that Mu had over 64 million inhabitants, 7 major cities, and colonies on other continents. He explained how the 64 million people of the lost continent were divided into 10 tribes, but they followed a single government and had a single religion. But let's move forward to the big question. Where was Mu located? In the Pacific Ocean. You heard that right. Churchward revealed that the land of Mu was located in the Pacific Ocean, and it stretched east-west from the Marianas to Easter Island, and north to south from Hawaii to Mangaia. Not only did it spread across such vast land, but it was deduced by historians to be bigger than South America. Mu was that large a continent. But it also begs the question, what was within this lost continent? Aside from the Nakal inhabitants within, this continent brimmed with natural life. Churchward recalled that the continent was a beautiful one with vast rivers, massive hills, and gorgeous plains. What started as sunburnt tablets with a strange language soon became the reference for an ancient civilization that birthed humans. But as you may already know, the testimony of one man, no matter how sincere, could not stand solely as evidence of a matter so controversial. So the questions kept coming in. If Churchward was right to back Augustus Le Plongeon in his claims of Mu being a mother civilization to humanity, what in the world happened to over 60 million inhabitants of a highly advanced civilization? Where did they all go? Churchward's response was staggering. They disappeared, he said. In his words, 12,000 years ago, Mu was completely obliterated in almost a single night. Wait, what? We were just as shocked. Churchward claimed that Mu faced a sudden series of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Amid the disarray, the broken land fell into that great abyss of fire, and so it sank and was covered by over 50 million square miles of water. In one night, the great mother civilization that birthed ancient Egypt and other known civilizations had crumbled. But the more Churchward explained, the more implausible his cause sounded. If he did read about Mu from the tablets handed over by the Indian priest, where did the tablets go? Could they have been hidden away? Or did Churchward invent the whole story? Before you believe the latter, hold on. When everyone least expected it, more testimonies about Mu began to surface. One such remarkable testimonial was from the infamous mineralogist and archaeologist William Niven. Born in 1850, Niven lived to discover hidden minerals and stuck-away tablets. In 1921, Niven discovered the first of over 100 tablets while digging in San Miguel Amantla. On these tablets were texts in languages too complex to understand. But to the shock of many, one man could interpret them: James Churchward. Churchward claimed that the language resembled the one he initially learned from his priest friend in India. This led many to wonder, what if the Niven tablets were also written by descendants of the Mu civilization? Churchward confirmed that the text was similar to the Naga Maya language, but the ancient stones were not the only proof that Churchward had. When it comes to proof of Mu's existence, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Do you know that there are questionable structures underneath the Pacific Ocean? Imagine taking a trip to the Pacific Island, and witnessing structures too defined to be attributed to nature. This was Churchward's next proof. The area deduced to be occupied by the Mu civilization had monuments that showed evidence of their existence. It made sense too. If Mu was real and as advanced as Churchward believed, then its people would have left behind traces of their knowledge. And they did leave traces bold enough to let us question all we believed about the true creation of mankind. The first outstanding evidence of the mother civilization is the Moai statues of Easter Island. The Moai are gigantic stone statues of human figures built by the Rapa Nui people of Easter Island. But these are no ordinary statues. One look at them and you could tell that the people who built them did so with meticulous precision and quality materials. Built between 1250 and 1500 AD, these have an absurd figure. Oversized heads that make up 3 times the whole statue, and they have no legs. The tallest of the Moai is called Paro, and it is about 10 meters high and weighs approximately 82 tons. Can you believe that? When the Rapa Nui people were asked about the inspiration for building such monuments, they revealed that the Moai were created to honor their ancestors. But this was such a long time ago. So who were their ancestors, and where did they come from? This leads us right back to Mu. Since the geographical location of Easter Island also correlates with the location defined by Churchward, all hands are pointing to one big question. What if the Rapa Nui people were descendants of the lost continent called Mu? Think about it. How else could a civilization from that time think of building such towering statues without being taught how to do so by an older one? Let's not forget the primary material used to erect these magnificent statues, volcanic tuff. This is a relatively soft, workable rock formed from compressed volcanic ash. It is said that this tuff was brought from an extinct volcanic crater on the island known as Rano Raraku. And on that site the statues were built. However, historians noted a fresh concern. As diligent as the Rapa Nui people were in building such a timeless monument with the resources available then, it was humanly impossible to move the Moai to where their remains currently reside. How did the Nui people do it? The tale from the natives would leave you shocked. The statues walked to their location, they said. When the oldest natives of Easter Island were asked about the mode of transportation of the Moai, this was their response. According to their oral tradition, the Moai did walk. But by now we all know that this is not a feasible explanation. Researchers Terry Hunt and Carl Lipo suggest that the statues were moved upright in a rocking motion using ropes. This is the closest alignment with the accounts of the islanders. Some scholars think otherwise and propose a different thought for transportation. What if the Rapa Nui used a system of logs to roll the statues to their destination? This method would have demanded lots of timber resources, but at least it was logical. The last suspected mode of transportation of these statues is the least believed, but it seems to be the one that Churchward loved the most: spiritual power. Some beliefs say that the Moai contain spiritual forces that equip the statues to move themselves to their respective destinations. Churchward supported this trail of thought as he established from his tablet findings that although he thought mankind came from Mu, the mother civilization was no ordinary civilization. But if they were not ordinary humans like us, who were they? Before we dissect that hot topic, you need to see further proof that will make you give the Mu civilization some extra points on your board. Aside from the legendary Moai of Easter Island, the pyramid phenomenon is a mystery that might hold clues to the mother civilization. How do you explain structures so great being built across different parts of the world in similar patterns? Many say that the pyramids were built by the Egyptians, but is that true? How come pyramids built thousands of years apart by different civilizations all follow the same principles? Take a look at the Great Pyramid of Giza. Located in Egypt, the structure is so meticulously built that scholars say it is aligned with extreme mathematical precision. Now, look at the pyramids of Teotihuacan in Mexico. They share similar designs despite being built thousands of years later. But this is the least cause for surprise. Have you seen the Shanxi pyramids, China? These are older than the Egyptian pyramids, yet they follow a similar geometric blueprint. This begs the question, were they truly built by different civilizations with no connection to each other? If yes, how would distant civilizations build the same structures, using the same principles, if they were completely isolated? What if the mother civilization, Mu, was the dot that connected them all? Multiple theories are rising to buttress the point. One suggests that the builders of the Mu continent carried this knowledge with them as they spread across the world. As they moved, they preserved their lost civilization's secrets in stone. Stone tablets, like the ones discovered by James Churchward. What if Churchward was not the only one who found those tablets? Although he was audible about his findings, others may not have been. A more interesting theory suggests that these pyramids were not just tombs or temples, but energy hubs built using a form of advanced technology too complex for us to comprehend. Could the pyramids be the last remnant of the lost continent Mu? If true, what advanced technology did this ancient civilization use that could not be understood? Were the Mu people even humans? Brace yourself. You are about to hear some of the most bizarre stories about the Mu continent. It will leave you questioning your genes and wondering if you are 100% human after all. Let's backtrack to who the Mu people were. As popularized by Augustus Le Plongeon and James Churchward, the Mu continent was said to be the first great civilization. That is, all human knowledge, technology, and even spirituality came from here. This would explain the magnificent structures on Easter Island and even the pyramids. But the deeper we dig, the more questions emerge. How did an ancient civilization predating Egypt achieve such incredible advancements? How did they develop complex languages, master astronomy, and build structures that modern engineering still finds difficult to explain? Little wonder the wild theories started flying in. What if Mu's people were not human? Enter the ancient astronaut hypothesis. This theory says that extraterrestrials visited Earth thousands of years ago and interacted with early humans, influencing their development. Newsflash. This theory is no mere speculation. Proof has been found in ancient texts around the world. Take, for instance, how the Sumerians talk about the Anunnaki, celestial beings who descended from heaven to create and guide humanity, or the Mayan Popol Vuh, which elaborates on sky gods who made man from nothing. Or do we talk about the Hindu Vedas and their Vimanas craft piloted by the gods? The stories of contact with extraterrestrial life abound. Some researchers argue that these were not myths, but visitors from outside our planet. If they are correct, could Mu have been their first point of contact? The witnesses of the tablets keep saying one thing: the people of Mu were incredibly advanced. They were said to have divine rulers who were wise beings with knowledge deeper than what a primitive civilization should have possessed. Now it seems like Mu is not just home to humans, but something more. A hybrid civilization, perhaps. But if this was true on any plane, there is a horrific likelihood that awaits any human willing to explore this trail of thought. Some theories suggest that if extraterrestrials did visit Mu, they had one goal in mind: to intervene with humanity. After all, ancient texts keep making references to divine beings being the source of humanity or modifying humanity. This could have occurred through mating between extraterrestrials and the first civilizations. In this era, scientists could call such matters a total abomination because of their controversy. What if this coexistence was also an outrageous controversy back then? so much that the entire continent had to be wiped away in a single night. This is where the real chaos began. It did not start with the fascinating origin of the Mu civilization or James Churchward, the first audible founder of the ancient tablets. Neither did historians make a scuffle when the Moai statues and the Great Pyramids were linked to Mu, or more shockingly, when there were theories of a possible mating between humans and aliens thousands of years ago. The straw that broke the camel's back was the sudden disappearance of Mu and its inhabitants. All other theories and propositions were tolerated as historians could not find solid proof to debunk the claims of James Churchward. However, geological findings were the core strength of historians. If there were no intellectual proof of such a civilization, surely the Earth would not lie, would it? Sadly, there is no geological evidence of a sunken continent in the Pacific, and this is how scientists concluded. Geologists argue that continents don't just sink, not especially one with over 60 million inhabitants and a thriving livelihood within. Moreover, the Pacific Ocean floor has been extensively mapped. There is no evidence of a massive lost landmass beneath the waves. Even plate tectonics, which is the process by which the Earth's crust shifts, makes it impossible for a continent as large as the size of Mu to have suddenly disappeared without a trace. Then there are the Nakal tablets discovered by James Churchward. The ancient records that he claimed told the story of Mu. The problem is that no one ever saw these tablets besides Churchward. He never provided the tablets for secondary analysis. Because of this, no other researcher could confirm their existence. Without the tablets, the entire story of the Mu civilization is built on an unverified claim. But it doesn't end here. Linguists also came forward to challenge Churchward's belief that Mu was the mother civilization that influenced Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Mesoamerica. Their thoughts: what if the languages and architectural principles of these different civilizations were all developed independently? Since there is no solid linguistic or genetic evidence linking them to a shared origin in the Pacific, this looks like a sure thought. But if Mu never existed, why do so many cultures have stories of a lost homeland swallowed by the sea? Is there a loose thread in this story? Perhaps there is. Although scientists and historians dismiss Churchward's claims of Mu being a lost continent that founded human civilization, some researchers believe that there could be an iota of truth behind the legend. One possibility. What if Mu was not a continent, but a misinterpretation of real historical events? Take, for example, the Indonesian landmass theory. Researchers suggest that Mu could be the Sundaland region, a vast area of Southeast Asia that partially went under at the end of the last ice age. This was about 12,000 years ago, at about the same time frame Churchward described. Another misinterpretation deduced by scholars is the writings that started it all. Remember the Mayan writings discovered by Augustus Le Plongeon? Yes. Some researchers believe that Le Plongeon simply misinterpreted Mayan texts that referenced an ancient place called Mu. What if those texts were not referring to a lost continent, but a different symbolic land? And about the extinction of Mu. Churchward said the lost continent disappeared in a cataclysmic event. Volcanic eruptions and earthquakes, he said. But what if this legend is a memory of real events? Disastrous events like the sinking of Doggerland in Europe or the flooding of Sunderland. These alternative explanations suggest that Mu might not have been a lost continent, but a mix of different real-world events and myths passed down from generation to generation. Was the Mu civilization really the mother civilization of all humanity? Do we bear genes from a possible hybrid civilization? To this day, scientists lack concrete answers. We do too. What do you think about the Mu civilization? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leave us a like and subscribe to this channel to be the first to get more of our videos. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again.